Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we will be going over some context for episode 4 of WandaVision. But before we do that, we will be reviewing what we saw in episode 3. Now, I want to issue this spoiler alert, like always, for any previous MCU projects, but most importantly for episodes 1, 2, or 3 of WandaVision. In case you haven't seen those, you should probably not continue the video. Now, to begin, let's go over a recap of episode 3. Now, Wanda is pregnant and her powers are all out of whack, and her house just kind of goes crazy, and I guess that's kind of funny, but Vision is also reading to prepare to deal with their baby that's on the way, or really their babies, which they didn't know until later that they were having twins. And then you see Herb acting pretty weird with I think the chainsaw and the brick wall there, and he just cuts right on through it as if he kind of malfunctions himself. You hear some dialogue from Vision, and he seems very suspicious of something that's like something's going on, and everything weird that's going on with Herb and what happened in episode 1 at dinner. And then it rewinds, just like Wanda had done in an earlier episode. Now, Geraldine is actually the one who ends up helping Wanda with her pregnancy the most, rather than Dr. Nielsen, which you might expect, but Geraldine ends up getting thrown out of her house. Wanda just totally sends her out because of her comment on Pietro. You know, Wanda mentions that she was also a twin, and Geraldine, she says, "Oh, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he?" And that's when Wanda kind of turns on her. Now, Wanda, like I said, ends up giving birth to twins, which they name Billy and Tommy, and they'll continue to have a pretty good or pretty big role in the following episodes. You hear Dr. Nielsen's comment, which I will go over in a bit. And Agnes and Herb seem very suspicious about Geraldine, and they kind of they don't really reveal much of what they're talking about to Vision when he asks, but we'll get to that as well. And again, all this stuff will be cleared up eventually. See, this is Dr. Nielsen, and this is his comment. "I don't think we'll get away after all. Small towns, so hard to escape." And Vision is just baffled by this comment. He doesn't know what that is or what that means. Wanda gets suspicious of Geraldine's necklace with the sword right there, and I'll explain what that means. And everyone just seems overall suspicious of Geraldine, and that's why she ends up getting kicked out of the house and then basically kicked out of the town. But like I said, everything's just going to get cleared up, or else there wouldn't really be a show. Now the twins, we have Billy and Tommy. Their comic book names are, or I guess their hero names are Speed and Wiccan, and that's the version of them behind each one. That's their comic illustration. Now, to set up episode 4. Now, episode 4, what it's going to do is it's going to clear up a lot of stuff that happened in the first 3 episodes, and you're going to see what reality looks like outside of this show that Wanda and Vision have found themselves in. And here are just some characters to go over. We got Darcy Lewis. She was in Thor, and she helped out Thor a little bit, was one of his allies. There's Jane and Thor, and just was one of those characters who helped him out, I guess. I don't know much about her besides that. Jimmy Woo, he works for the FBI. He was Ant-Man's parole officer. And I only put this photo here because most people recognize the actor from The Office. But yeah, that's kind of all he is so far. Is works for the FBI, and he's going to become a bigger part of this show. All right, moving on to Monica Rambeau. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Hey, that's Geraldine. Yeah, because Geraldine was never actually a real character in the show. She was really someone who came from the outside world, and that is what episode 4 is kind of all about. Now, her backstory is her mom was one of Captain Marvel's closest allies. Here's Monica herself, uh, who's, well, high fiving Captain Marvel in the 90s. And they were both pilots, her mom and Captain Marvel, and she's all grown up now, and she is working for Sword, which brings us to Sword, which, well, it's basically a counterterrorism organization, and you could kind of see how that makes it similar to Shield. And if you haven't heard of Shield, that's been a big part of uh, other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And Sword is basically like Shield, but it deals a lot with aliens and space. And I've included this photo right here from the end of episode 1 that you might have been confused by. Just know that Sword and what's going on with them, that's going to clear up what was happening in that little last bit of episode 1, in case you were wondering about that. All right, so you are ready to go watch episode 4, and that, like I said, it's going to clear up so much of what you've been confused about, and it's just going to answer all your questions. I guarantee it. So, just to set it up, the year is 2023, because this is shortly after the events of Avengers Endgame. And we begin with Jimmy and Monica teaming up, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I'll see you back here where we will go over episode 4, and I will set you up for episode 5. All right, see ya.